Okay, example 5 says Tan is designing a Japanese rock garden in the shape of a right triangle, so that the second shortest side is twice the length of the shortest side. Before we go any farther, let's try to draw a diagram here that might be able to help us understand this question a little bit better. They tell us that the shape that he's trying to create the garden is a right triangle. So if I draw a quick little sketch of a right triangle here, it's not going to be perfect, however, it'll do the trick for us. I have my right triangle here. We are told that the second shortest side is twice the length of the shortest side. Now, you should remember from grade 8 that when we have a right triangle, the longest side of a right triangle is the hypotenuse. Okay, the hypotenuse is the side across from the right angle. I'm going to label that as H. The shortest side then, based on my diagram here, we can say is here. Let's call that X. And we'll say let X be the length of shortest side. And then the second shortest side is supposed to be twice the length of that shortest side. So we'll say 2x for there. Perfect. That diagram looks like it'll be able to help us out. Let's continue and see what the rest of the question tells us. The area of the garden must be 30 meters squared. What are the lengths of the three sides of Tan's garden? Well, we're given some information that might be able to help us. The area is probably going to come into play here, but let's take a look. They want us to find this side length, and the hypotenuse side length. What could we do to come up with our side lengths based on the information we're given? Well, they tell us that the area of the garden must be 30 meters squared. Let's write that down here. Area equals 30 meters squared. If the area is 30 meters squared, we can probably work that into our calculations. If I have a right triangle, what is the area of our right triangle? How would we be able to determine that? What is the area formula for a triangle? Well, that is area equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, what's the base of my triangle? Well, here's my base, right here, 2x. Let's replace area. Well, let's take one step back. Area is 30. Let's put that in here. Now my base, we said, was 2x. What's the height of my triangle? Now be careful. This is the hypotenuse. That's not the height. The height is from the base to the highest point. Here's my height. It's x over 2. Let's clean this up. 30 equals 2x squared over 2. Okay, I like the looks of this. Let's solve for x. How could I solve for x here? Well, if we take a look here, 2 and 2 cancel out. And I'm left with x squared equals 30. X squared equals 30. How do we determine x? How do I isolate for x here? Remember that we briefly talked about this. What is the opposite of x squared? Well, the opposite of x squared, or what gets rid of that squared, is a square root. So let's square root both sides. I'm going to rewrite my line there. And I say square root and square root. Now I'm left with x equals the square root of 30, which is approximately 5.47. But they wanted the nearest tenth, so we'll say x equals 5.5. All right. Now I know x, so this side of my triangle is actually 5.5. How would I find this length of my triangle? Well, 2 times x. So let's just say the shortest side is 5.5 meters. Now we'll find the second shortest, which is 2 times x, or 2 times 5.5, which is 2 times 5.5 equals 11. The second shortest side is 11 meters. Let's do one more quick sketch here, and I can say this is 5.5, this is 11, and that's h. They want to know all 3 side lengths. How do I find this side length? Well, I have a right triangle, and I know 2 of the 3 sides. What could I use? What could I use to determine the side length of that third side? Well, right triangle, I know 2 sides. I can use something that looks like this. C squared equals a squared plus b squared. This is known as the Pythagorean theorem, where C is the hypotenuse, always the longest side. So I can say that h squared equals 5.5 squared plus 11 squared. This would be A, this would be B. They could be interchanged as well. They're not set. They could change. Now, let's solve for h. h squared equals 5.5 squared is 30.25 plus 11 squared is 121. 11 squared plus 5.5 squared, 121 plus 30.25 is equal to 151.25. And again, how do I get h by itself? I take the square root of either side. When I do that, h is equal to 12.298, or to the nearest tenth, 12.3. So the side lengths are 5.5 meters, 11 meters, and 12.3 meters.